Hi, and welcome to the Chronicles of Yarnia. Vert edition, what?
I want to say 6.
Quarantine edition 6.
Quarantine 6, episode 31.
30, I think, because I remember saying we were getting.
Last time I said number. I could count. Can I?
I'm Kathleen.
I'm Haley.
My name's Amanda.
Remember to like and subscribe us down below and follow us on Facebook as Yarnia LLC, Instagram as Shop Yarnia, and Ravelry as Shop Yarnia. So you can basically find us everywhere as Shop Yarnia if you Google that, or Yarnia LLC.
And we are actually coming to you from Yarnia today. We decided, well, we liked filming in our backyard and on our back porch the last couple of times.
We like the background, but not the background noise.
Exactly. And today there was construction going on a few doors down from us, so it was particularly loud. So we just decided to actually come back to where it all started and come to Yarnia to do our little bit from here.
And if you're a super fan, you can tell that we switched the backgrounds and we're on the other side of the store.
That's right.
To get the whole view.
Just for fun. Just for fun.
Anyway, we're going to dive right in because there's a lot going on this week. First I'll tell you where I'm coming from. I'm coming from a different room in my house because today the room that I would normally go into, which is our living room, is hosting a reenactment of the Hoth scene from Empire Strikes Back. And every chair is covered with little tiny Star Wars figures. So yeah, good times. Or a cat. Both of which. Meanwhile, I've just been informed that it's morning here. It's 10 a.m. on Thursday. And I've just been informed by my oldest child that he has done remote learning for the day and has finished all of his work. It's the end of the year. I can tell this. Meanwhile, the 6-year-old has not started his remote learning for the day, and he is in the basement avoiding me. So I'm taking this time to record the podcast. We can both be happy. Anyway, what else is going on around town is, I'm sure what's going on around the rest of the country and what's going on around the rest of the world, which are the amazing protests to support Black Lives Matter and to remember the name of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and the many, many, many people who have died or been assaulted or been victims of police brutality, of institutional racism, of out-and-out racism. And this is a really important conversation for, I think, everybody to be having. This is a really important thing for me. I'm Quaker. I come from a family of Quakers who are very strong in our political beliefs. My family is very lefty, which I'm very proud of. And I've always, it's been a journey going from like, this is a bad thing, to recognizing as a white woman who has grown up in privilege, in the East Coast, in northern New Jersey, economically stable and comfortable, and recognizing that my part in systemic racism and how I can, how I've been complicit, and also how I can help dismantle it, and how I can actively be anti-racist and teach my children, to white boys growing up in Montclair with economic and societal and racial privilege all over the place, how I can teach them to also be anti-racist and to not just say like, oh, I don't distinguish based on color of skin, but to recognize that there are differences in how society treats people based on the color of their skin and how individuals are treated. So it's not saying I don't see color. But it's seeing, I see color and I recognize that my experience is not the same as your experience, is not the same as his experience, is not the same as her experience. And that what goes on for me in my life isn't what goes on for you in yours. And trying to do our best to use our voices to help elevate those who might otherwise be silenced. So I am exceptionally proud to live in our town, in our community, where there were 3 or 4 days straight of protests, all peaceful, which is lovely, but I understand why things might not be peaceful in other areas. And I was really, really, really happy to see the student-led protest organized by kids at the high school be just absolutely huge, and to see it go. They had 2 arms going in 2 different ways around town, which I thought was awesome, not just to help practice social distancing and make sure to keep everybody making their voice heard safe, but also to kind of make sure that everybody in town saw and could come out and elevate these voices and these stories, and experiences of Black lives and Black voices and voices of people of color and what they've experienced in their life. So I want to make sure that everybody understands that Yarnia stands with Black voices, with Black lives and Black stories. That this is not a time for us to center ourselves, but it's a time to help elevate others' voices, and make sure that everyone knows what's going on and stands up for what's right. Because really, that I feel like is the most important thing in our life. It's the time for us to use our white privilege to hold and support Black lives. And here is Ollie, who is still in PJs. So, hey, can you clean up your half battle? Okay. All right, give me a minute, okay? Okay. So I've had conversations with both of my kids about racism, and tried to steer it to their age group, although as both of my kids will tell you, that I start off age appropriate and I start going in to the women's studies and race studies rant and explaining what the patriarchy is and how institutional racism and the patriarchy go hand in hand and how we can dismantle that. And yeah, it becomes a lot. I think they understand. I hope they understand. It's one of those things where this is not a one and done conversation. This is a conversation that we need to have over and over again, and to not just have this conversation, but to put actions behind it. So to make sure we put our money where our mouth is, to make sure we put our votes where our mouth is. So everybody please make sure that they are registered for the vote, and research your candidates and see where they stand, because a lot of times it's really easy for everyone to just assume that your candidate agrees with you. Do they? Call them, ask them, see if you can find out. Organizations like, if you're in North Jersey, New Jersey 11th for Change is a super fantastic organization. Granted, I'm biased. My husband is an active member of that. But they are really great about educating voters. They are really great about making sure that there is community support for everything. And that there's community education. And just remember that change starts on the local level, not just an individual level, but also on a local action level. So it's not just nationwide, it's about your town, your council members, your representatives. All of these things are super, super crucial.
Yeah, so definitely, if you got your ballot in the mail, if you're in New Jersey, vote.
So there's my political rant for the day, and I didn't go into the patriarchy and systemic racism nearly as much as I could have, but I could continue on if you want. I'm not going to, though.
And what's been happening around town, really, and around the nation, is a lot of discussion and I think finally recognition of how people of color in this country are treated by many people and how it has to change. So I think there's been some positive movement. I think that's a really good thing. I don't know if you want to talk about what you did last weekend.
Yeah. So definitely have, since it was kind of awkward timing last time with the last podcast, because things kind of were happening and that was filmed before things started progressing. So this time we are addressing it. And so there were two, around town, there were two Montclair protests. One on Saturday started in Nishuane and went from Nishuane to Bloomfield and ended at Crane Park with speeches and speakers. Mm-hmm. And then the one on Sunday, which was, the Saturday one was organized by two community organizations from Montclair and surrounding towns, and the Sunday protest was actually organized by a group of 16 high schoolers from MHS, and I'm so proud of them. They organized it in 6 days and over 6,000 people came, so that was pretty amazing. A real moment there. And
actually there were so many marches at the second event, the Sunday event, that they decided to do two streams.
Routes. So we went uptown and downtown, they split us up.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, and you can find the live stream of the speakers from the Sunday march on their Facebook, and it might be Black Lives Matter Montclair.
Mm-hmm. We can find out and get the links.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll find out and get the links.
Because even though I was there, I couldn't really hear them because there were so many people. I was so far away, I couldn't even hear it. So,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I intended to go to the Saturday march as well. But I hurt my ankle, so I got to see. I went and
speeches.
Went and saw some of the speeches, and then got to see the beginning of the march, which was actually really inspiring. It was so cool to see so many people marching and still wearing their masks and social distancing, but standing up for what they believe in. So I feel like Montclair as a community has been doing a good job on this week. Had a good start. How's that?
Yeah. We still have to address Montclair's not perfect.
No, of course not. No place is. But
yeah. So in terms of action items and things to do following this sparking of the movement, because as one quote has been percolating, it's not a moment, it's a movement. So
echoing Hamilton.
No, just...
It is also from Hamilton.
It's a line in Hamilton, but it's not...
I'm just saying.
That's not where it came.
Saying.
But the organizers of the MHS protest, or the one on Sunday, have created a Montclair task force, so we can link that also, and you don't have to be a student. I signed up to do it. As far as I know, it is going to be different direct community groupings dealing with addressing systemic racism in our town and the country.
All right.
So you don't have to be student age. You can be... you don't even have to be from Montclair. You can just be wherever. I'm sure they'll take people from all over.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I'm sure there may be some. I'm sure there are a lot of similar, organizations around the country. But
there's definitely.
It's good if people kind of take ideas from other places and take what works and use it in their own communities as well.
Yeah, so we just do want to say, this is not a space for our voices right now, but we are just going to be amplifying Black voices from now on. So, I had another thought.
Well, maybe we can add
yes, so basically, there's just a lot of resources that have been going around, so, the advice we have right now is for white people, and non-Black people of color, we can all educate ourselves with those resources that have been online, and signing petitions does not take that long to do, and donations if you can, and just having conversations with the people around you, the people closest to you and people not so close to you, just talking about it and addressing it where you see it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the film that we watched the other night was really...
Yes, we watched 13th by Ava DuVernay, which highly recommend. Very educational and interesting and a good watch.
And just, like there are so many things, especially depending on your age, things that you may have grown up hearing about or lived through or whatever. But to see, everything kind of pulled together in context, it was quite astounding. So just the number of people incarcerated in this country and how many of them are people of color and sort of how all of that evolved. And I think that's really helping some people recognize how we need to be making changes. So that is
all to say Black Lives Matter. We are here.
Absolutely.
To say that.
Yes, and stand in the gap.
Yes.
So
I've been working on a couple of different things. I've been also a little bit swamped and a little bit overwhelmed by everything that's going on. And we have another visit from Ollie. No, we don't. We had a drive by. He ran past and then kept going. So we can. Ollie has fetched me. Did you ask Daddy if we could show this? Go ask Daddy if we could.
No.
Okay. So I will let Amanda know if we can't show this. So this is the needlepoint project that my husband finished. He did a great job. This is the first one he's done it in a while. I think he said the last time he did it, he was this guy's age. So it's pretty, I'm pretty impressed by it. His tension is wicked even. And it's going to be a pillow, I believe. Can you go return this to Dad, please? Oliver, thank you.
hi, it's Kathleen.
And Haley again.
Back again with finished objects. And we, as many people, have not been, especially the last couple of weeks, have not been doing as much crafting, but more listening and learning. But I do have one finished object that I had been working on. Actually, this came together so quickly, and I'm really happy with it. It's called the Bealtaine shawl. It is by Carol Feller. I will show you a picture of the pattern. And I really love this. I did have this as a work in progress on probably 2 podcasts. I think I had just started it. I don't know, or maybe it was at midnight.
I think it was 2.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know I did put my notes on Ravelry. Super quick knit. I really loved it, and it really was actually good TV knitting for me. And you can kind of see, like, even in this little snippet, it really is just 2 sections that repeat. There's a garter section and there's a lace section. And once you kind of get the hang of that, it just goes so quickly. And also, I do have a little mistake, which, should we talk about it? I
don't think
whatever. It's not worth talking about.
It if
I'm picky enough, I think I would see it, but whatever. I realized
it doesn't look that different from.
Okay.
It's a circle instead of
a hexagon, basically. So yeah, I realized, after I had done my next garter section, that I actually had a mistake back in my lace, but the count was still right, so I didn't actually notice it. I was definitely knitting while I was watching TV, but I was looking for a 1-color shawl. We had some Northlight Spring Street, which is their fingering weight, and I know we talked about this last time, I had wanted to do just a 1-color shawl. I didn't want to use it with anything else. It really is lovely yarn. I hadn't used it before. We've carried it since day 1 at Yarnia, but I've used some of their other yarns. I hadn't used the fingering yet, and so I searched on Ravelry for projects that people had made with this yarn. And that was actually how I found that pattern. So I think that's a really good tip. Well, actually, it's funny because I think actually people do that a lot, and it's not something I've ever done normally.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I tend to look for a characteristic of a pattern, whether it's, lace or multiple colors or whatever. But in this case, I did look around for what other people had done with that yarn and came across a version of this. And I thought it was actually probably, it was one of the 2 or 3 out of, I don't know, hundreds of projects, most beautiful projects of this shawl was done using this yarn. So I was like, great, that's the one for me. I'm going to try it. So I'm going to go ahead and take it off. It is a nice, fairly shallow triangle. And I'm probably not going to be wearing it later in the podcast because it's a little warm in here and we need to keep the air off so that you can hear us. But it really, as I said, it is just that repeating garter and lace pattern. But you know, it is the perfect thing for one color. And I'm going to show, and I think we're going to put this in our newsletter this weekend, or that comes out on Monday. I'm going to show some of the other colors we have in Spring Street, and I'll do a picture of those. I'll make sure we have all of them at home for the picture. We got a lovely seafoam. There's a beautiful red. That's rock hopper. This is goldenrod, as you might guess. I think this would actually be stunning for someone that wears a lot of dark colors. It would be so pretty to do it in white.
Oh,
Pale Maiden. This is a lovely gray. Really pretty purple. Yep, Scots thistle. It does remind me of Allegria thistle a little bit.
Yeah,
And this one is butterfly pea. So I used, I will make a little swatch for the store. I used, you know, all but, I don't know, 5 grams maybe of the yarn in my project. But I'm a very loose knitter, so people don't tend to ever, I don't know anyone who uses more yarn than I do in most projects. So if I did it, you can do it. Yeah, so we started out with 5 ounces of the yarn, and I would guess that I used, you know, like 4.7 or something like that, 4.7, 4.8. I just have a little bit left, but, you know, there was plenty. And it's another one of those things, actually, if you're a tighter knitter, you could even extend this a little bit if you wanted to.
And do like another repeat.
You could do another repeat if you felt like it. But it's a nice big shawl as it is. The measurements, and I did literally, this was blocked this afternoon.
Yes, in the sun.
nothing like
the sun's energy.
a deadline.
We harnessed the sun's energy.
Exactly. So it's finished dimensions, 80-inch kind of wingspan basically, and I would guess the depth is, I don't know, 15 inches or something like that at the deepest point, and it is an asymmetrical triangle.
Yeah.
So maybe even longer, maybe 18. Yep. So really pretty.
But yeah, the rest of it's pretty shallow.
Yep. And it has a picot bind off. It has a picot edge on one side. It's got a sawtooth edge on the other side, which is part of why the rows never get too long, which makes it, I think, also a great TV knitting project. That sometimes when you have those interminable rows, I feel like those are not as good TV knitting projects for me. But you're increasing all the time on this edge, and then you're decreasing every like 8th row because it's garter. So you're decreasing every 8th row on this side. So it keeps it a shallow triangle all the way through. Yeah, so that is the Bealtaine. That is our finished object for this podcast.
Singular.
And hopefully there'll be more next time, but you know, it is what it is. So.
Yeah.
All right. So I have 2 finished objects today to share with you. The first I'm wearing, I finished my Lourdes by Amy Christoffers. I used the, what was it? Noro Subami. Yeah, that's their brand new yarn for 2020. It's 50% silk, 25% wool, 25% like viscose. So very drapey. I like it a lot. And you can, here I'll stand up, you can see it. As you can see, it's got, you know, it's a short sleeve, basically knit 2 pieces, and then you pick up for the neck, do like 4 rows and 4 rows on like little sleeve bands, but super simple. Let's see, boxy, cool top for this time of year. There's this little texture detail here that's repeated a few times. But yeah, basically it's just a lovely, easy pattern, lots of stockinette. It's stockinette flat, like I said. It's seamed, so you do the front side, you do the back side. They're basically the same, except the neck shaping is a little bit different in the front to give you a nice scoop front neckline. And I just think this Noro Subami, right? The stripes are so cool in this. They fade so nicely. It makes like a simple pattern look really nice. And that's the great thing about Noro and other self-striping or speckly yarns, right? Like you can take really simple patterns and they look really cool. But yeah, so this one, and I would say today the high is like 80, which for me, that's a good day to wear this. If it was above 80, it might be a little warm. Definitely great for inside and air conditioning. But yeah, like on those days where it's too warm to wear a sweater, but too cool to be in a sundress, perfect. Love this piece. let's see, and it'll be a store sample, I think, for a little bit. When we reopen, it'll be a store sample, and then Beth, my oldest daughter, has already claimed it. So it'll be going to her, even though it fits me really nicely. Yeah. Yeah, you can see like here it faded into the pink, so it's almost like I've got these like pink shoulder welts, but they're not welts because the stripes on the tsubame just do that naturally. Yay! Yeah, I don't know, there's not much to say about that. You just have to seam the two sides. Here's a seam here. Oops. Yeah, there's a seam here. I didn't bother about matching, although I was pretty close. I probably could have just pulled out right that much from the new ball. I just made sure to match those. It wouldn't have been hard. You just start where you did and the color fade on the bottom. I wasn't that particular with it. So, yeah. Nice, cool. This would look great with some, I can't show you everything on screen because I'm too close up here in my dining room, but maybe I'll get one of my daughters to put it on with some skinny jeans. It would look really cute. Let's see, next, my other finished object you never even saw as a work in progress because I finished it in 2 days. Yay! I grabbed 2 balls of, you'll remember I showed you new in store, the Sugarbush Crisp. That's our new DK weight yarn that's similar to Sugarbush Bold, the worsted weight yarn. I actually took a look at it. Sugarbush Bold is a multiply, so it is it has actually like several plied yarns are plied together to make a very, very round yarn. As I was knitting with it, I looked at this Sugarbush Crisp, and it's a 4-ply. Also very round, very bouncy, so you've got 4 tightly plied plies, all plied together to make this DK weight yarn, but it's not exactly the same construction in a tinier format. It is a different yarn plying technique, right? Multiply is different from, which is sort of standard 4-ply, but I really like how round, I loved knitting with it. This was so fun. But one of our customers actually, we were going back and forth. She wanted to knit a little outfit for her granddaughter. We were going back and forth on what was a relatively easy, beginner-friendly kids top for a little girl, and she found this pattern. There's not that many finished objects of it on Ravelry, but I looked at it, and it's a great little pattern. This is the Little Pearl Vest by Gretchen Ronnevik, right? Here it is. That's it. So it's got this garter yoke, right? It goes into stockinette body, and then there's a little bit of garter right here at the end. And at the back of the garter yoke is this, all the garter yoke is open, so you don't have to worry about swishing it over kitty heads. And then there's just a button here at the end. And the cool thing about this is, if you think about it, right, all the stuff that's up to that's split here and is done flat, this is all garter, flat, which means only knitting. Once you join in the round here, you go to only knitting in the round. So there are no purl stitches on this whole dress until you get to the last. If you want to do the the garter here on the very end, these last, it's like knit, knit for the last 5 rows. That's the only purl on this whole little girl's dress, right? Like, so if you're like Jen and you hate purling, this is a great and super fast. I literally started it Sunday night and I finished it Tuesday morning. And I was not knitting on it full time, but it just flew off my needles. Let's see, would I change anything for myself? So Gretchen the designer had you do all of your increases as knit front and back, which for me is the easiest increase. It's, you don't have to wonder like, where is this bar between my stitches and all that you have to worry about with make one left and make one right, which isn't a big deal once you learn how to do it, but at the beginning, make one or knit front and back is a little bit easier, I think. But when you do knit front and back, if you remember from my Damejakka Loppa, which I did all my knit increases knit front and back instead of make ones, because I was like, this no one will see, it'll be easy. Knit front and back does make little purl bumps, so you can see, and if you're picky about your garter being smooth, the knit front and back, you'll be able to see it. Let's see, here's one here. Yeah, you see how there's a little purl bump here in the garter, and again here, and again here. You see where those threads are just like looped over one? Yeah, so it gives it a little less than, you can see them scattered through on the front. It definitely doesn't interrupt the pattern. Do I care? No. And again, like what my preference is when I knit a shop sample to make it just to the pattern, because that's exactly what you'll get if you knit this pattern the way it's written. But if you don't like it, I'll put a note on my Ravelry page for it, which you'll find on the Shop Yarnia Ravelry account, since this is a sample, that if you wanted a perfectly smooth yoke, use a make one, right? Make one left, make one right. Doesn't really matter. But the important thing is you want to be knitting all those. It might matter. I might do a little test and see if that matters. Or Jen probably knows off the top of her head. But anyway, yeah, so. Okay, so Little Purl Vest by Gretchen Ronnevik. Really like it. It'll be in the shop. You can see this too. You'll be able to see this. Yay for finished objects.
So I'm back with works in progress. Amanda may have some trouble editing because I had a little bit of a visit from the 6-year-old who is all on me. Anyway, a couple of things I'm working on. I'm working on the Dame de Fer cardigan, which is fingering weight, and I'm at like the 300 stitches a row. Why I didn't steek this, I don't know. I really should have steeked it, even though it's super wash. But it's taken me a while. It's a lot of stitches. It's on a size 2 needle, and I have like another 3 inches to go on the yoke before I divide for the sleeves. It's just really slow. I mean, I'll get there. It might be a good vacation project, so maybe I'll take it with me on when we go on vacation. In the meantime, I have been working on my needlepoint project, which is on this frame, and it looks a bit of a mess right now because of what I decided to do. Here we can see. So because I have it on the roller, I decided to do all of the stripes down here to about this level. And so I'm leaving actually the strands attached, which my cat loves, which is super annoying. But it actually is pretty easy. So I just rethread the needle and I work up a little bit, and then I work over, and then I work up and work over and work up. So I'm going to say I'm 2/3 of the way done with that. This is the color scheme, except for I need to cut some more of the ecru. That's also going to be a pillow. Or really, let's be real. What it's going to be is a finished needlepoint sitting up in my room with the other finished needlepoints that I have still not changed into a pillow. Good on me. And let's see. So that's one work in progress. And my next work in progress, I'm swatching and trying to decide what color to do for the summer sorrel sweater. Say that 10 times fast. It's a little tricky. So the summer sorrel sweater is by, I said it last time and I don't remember. And of course, if I had been prepared, I would have looked it up. but I didn't. It's by Wool and Pine. So it is a short sleeve tee, which I may, depending on which yarn I pick, I may make long sleeves. It's a short sleeve tee, and it's got like cute little pulled up stitches on the yoke. It's got a slightly lower neck, and it's in fingering weight, which I think is going to make for super wearable. This one is not a cardigan, so I won't get stuck on the 300 stitches back and forth. So it should be good. So I have a couple of options to look at. I have this Mad Tosh green, which the lighting in this room isn't as great as the daylight in the other one, so I don't know if you can really see that. That is Jade. I have, is this also Mad Tosh? This might also be Mad Tosh sock, or Tosh sock, which is purple. There we go. That's a better representation. Which that's purple and bluey and gray and a little bit tonal, but a little bit speckly. Ball's a bit of a mess. But then I realized last year I went to London and I got some La Bien-Aimée cashmerino. And this is Dusk, which I feel like is a very Amanda color. I feel like those pinks and a little bit of orange and whatever, it's very, very Amanda color. And I'm looking at it next to me. So I'm trying to figure out which of these I'm going to do. I have enough yarn. I have enough yardage for all three of those colors to do a sweater. Maybe three. I mean, I like 3/4 sleeves anyway, and it might be cropped because, you know, I feel like that looks cute. So I'm trying to figure out, and I'm swatching for which one I'm going to like the best. If you have an opinion, green, purple gray, or the pale pink, let me know down below because I'm notoriously indecisive. I feel like the green, I might knock the green out because it's a very similar green tone to the sweater I made out of the Lucky Tweed. Why can't I remember the name of it? Oh my goodness, maybe Amanda will throw it in down here and take pity on me. But I feel like that's a very similar color. That said, I wear that color a lot, so maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. Yeah, so let me know what you think.
Okay, now for works in progress, and I brought two today. First, as promised, I finished sock number 1 of my rainy window socks. Yay! Yeah. I need to get a sock blocker. That would be helpful. I'm gonna put my hand in like that to show you. That's more foot-like. Yeah. There's the rainy window socks. It's got that little raindrop pattern, and then these little cables down the side. Those are actually cables. They're not a faux cable. It's a 2x1 deal. But I just used the 5th needle in my set of DPNs. Kept it in my bag, and whenever I needed a cable, I just pulled out that 5th needle and used it as a cable needle for my rainy window socks. And again, this yarn, this is the stockinette part on the foot. This yarn is Spun Right Round Sock in the color Crowded Cloud. For some reason, this reminds me of Care Bears. I don't know why. More like, what was the Grumpy Cloud? Yeah, something like that. Grumpy Bear. That's like his color. So that's my first one. My second one is over here. I finished the leg of my second one. I was in a insurance conference all day on Monday and Tuesday of this week, which is why I not podcast those days, which are usually my days to podcast in the afternoon while Charlie's sleeping, but I couldn't either of them because I was on virtual meetings about insurance stuff. Exciting. So I finished the leg though, Yay, I finished the leg of the second one, and I've started to do the heel flap. So I'll probably finish the heel flap today. I was working on it last night while the kids, well, after we set up the tents, and my husband was grilling some hamburgers. So after this, I'll probably go sit in the backyard with the kiddos for a while. They're going, I think one of the activities Girl Scouts gave us to do was the I've Got activities, where you cross some sticks and then weave yarn around them, right, to like make the little square designs. So I'll probably take some of my yarn scraps in the backyard. Lord knows I have plenty. And let the kids find some sticks and do their little activity. And maybe if they finish one or two, well, if they each finish one, because it's the 6-year-old and the 8-year-old who are back there playing today. Maybe if they finish them, well, I guess my 20-year-old's here too, so she might do one as well if they're doing one. Maybe we'll have a whole family of them. I'll take a picture and show you, because that's a fun afternoon activity, right? That keeps everybody occupied, and they're sort of fun to have. They're pretty to have around. I'm looking in my dining room. We could hang them from the chandelier. That would be really pretty. But my last work in progress that I've made progress on, that I'm going to show you. I mean, because I told you I was not going to show you my Rowan felted tweed blanket until I finish my clue number 3. Right? You don't need to see that repeatedly. Same clue, different color. It's not interesting. But I did make progress on my Damejakka Loppa. I am super glad that we have this knit-along going until August, because I think that is the perfect length of time for me to leisurely make this sweater. We'll be back in the store for sure by the end of August. We can have a steeking party in the store. So, and then have new sweaters to wear in September. So if you don't know, we are having a knit along for this sweater. It's going on through the month of August, like all the way, all summer until the end of August, so you have still plenty of time to jump in. I thought I was going to zoom through this by the end of May. I started at beginning of April and finished like the whole yoke in probably like the first week. And then was pretty quick on the body too. I have to say, like, this was my main project I was working on while I was working on conference calls. Then, and I finished up, I think most of the body at least, or a good chunk almost to here, before the Rowan felted tweed blanket started. And then this one got the boot as by my desk project, and I've been working on my blanket, Rowan felted tweed blanket. So it hasn't made as quick progress as it did the month of April, the month of, end of March, I guess, in April, which is fine. So, but I did make progress this week because I finished a sleeve. I think last time I showed you I was like somewhere around here. I did go ahead and finish the sleeve, yay. The end of the sleeve has the same color work, right, as the bottom of the body. And then you decrease about 8 more stitches and you do 2x2 rib here on the sleeve. I'm really happy with how the length of this sleeve when you put it on, it's just right. It hits me like right here, just past my wrist on the top of my hand. Perfect. So, and as always, I mark all of my decreases with a stitch marker, right? So all these stitch markers are the decreases that I did for sleeve number 1. So it was basically, what, every 12 rows or something like that. And I did what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 decreases. So 22 stitches decreased from the from the shoulder all the way to the wrist. So as soon as I finish the sleeve, I start the next one, and I've got 1 flea repeat done here. But the reason that I do that, that I leave my stitch markers on, is because now I can fold. I also leave my, this is a Jen trick, I also leave my waste yarn in, right? Because that's a really good marker. It's easy to measure from the waste yarn. I can line up those waste yarn lines on the top of each sleeve, or and then see how many, if my decreases are lined up on each sleeve, because I'm folding them so they match exactly. Yeah, and that means the second sleeve is a lot less work and thought than the first sleeve, where I have to constantly try on, does it fit, do I need more decreases, The second sleeve, I just make it match the first. That's easy. Yeah, so this is, again, we have a knit along for this. I love this pattern. Mine, I'm knitting all in Rama PT2. That's 6 colors, or finnegarn, right? There's 6 colors here. Let's say a white, a light blue, a dark gray, and a light gray, this mustard color, and this bright turquoise. Those are my 6 colors. And yeah, so this yarn works great for this kind of sweater where you're going to steek it. You can use other yarn. It's a fingering weight sweater. I knit mine on size 2 and size 3 needles, US 2s and 3s. I think it's written for a 1.5 and a 2.5. I was getting gauge or close enough to it with the 2 and the 3, and I had them on hand. So that's what I used. I used my Chiagu interchangeables for most of the body, and I'm using my Flexi Flips for sleeves because I always use Flexi Flip for sleeves. But yeah, for this knit along, you can join anytime you want. Just post in our thread on Ravelry, and we have a prize for finished sweaters at the end of August, and that is 2 skeins of finnegarn in your choice from what we have in inventory, and a pattern by Jenny Penny. This pattern, again, is by Pinneguri, who has a ton of really awesome Norwegian inspired, or is she Swedish? Maybe Swedish. Color work, but Nordic color work, patterns, traditional, but very nicely done, because like none of these patterns have a float longer than 3 stitches, which is lovely. So you never have to catch yarn in behind your floats when you're knitting them. But Jenny Penny is another fantastic Norwegian, Swedish colorwork designer. I should know that. I'm sorry. But she has fantastic, I love her mittens and socks. They're so beautiful. Would also be great in Rama PT2. And so, yeah, the price for this knit along is 2 skeins of Rama PT2, and any pattern by Jenny Penny, you can pick it out and we'll buy it and put it in your Ravelry library. You do have to have at least a majority of your yarn from Yarnia, but if you have a skein that you really love in your stash, you can throw that in for the color work at any time. I will say I have just pretty much run out of my blue. I got 2 skeins of this blue, and that's all I have left to do the last sleeve. So I'm going to need 3 skeins of this contrast color. But I also have a similar amount of the gray left, but I got 2 extra skeins of the gray. So I'll return 1 skein of the gray. Yeah, that's my remaining gray. But I can definitely get a sleeve out of a skein, so I'll swap in a gray for a blue. But if you are buying, you probably need 3 skeins at least of your primary contrast color, whatever you're going to do all the fleas in. Yeah, because whatever's your fleas is also your neck, is also these, is also your band at the bottom. So it gets a lot of use.
All right. So it is Kathleen and Haley back with Works in Progress. And we have many more Works in Progress than we did finished objects.
Yes.
As always, right?
We work at a snail space.
No, we don't.
The royal we.
Oh, okay. Nah, you've had a lot of other things on your mind.
These past 2 weeks. Yes.
Yes, definitely. Not even in
the
Animal
noggin
Crossing.
has been running.
Not even in Animal Crossing.
But
I'm still doing some Animal Crossing, I will say.
Yeah,
Not as much as you.
when we watched the last podcast, I was like, haha, that's funny. I was like, Animal Crossing is so addicting, and like immediately after that, I was like, I'm over it.
You know,
I'm still a fan. It's still very nice to watch. I felt like I feel like I want something more from it that it doesn't have. But I've read that there's going to be a diving update, possibly, because people
if there's diving, then you'll be back in.
Yeah, they like built the built the structure for it, but they're gonna put it in a later update because people just time jump the whole way. So they want to keep the element of surprise. That's what I read. Fresh. Don't quote me because I didn't do anything. I just saw people talking about it. So, works in progress.
Works in progress. So I am working on a sweater. It is actually from the current issue and possibly one of the last issues of Knit Simple. They've announced that they're no longer publishing, which is sad. Amanda has been a fan of that magazine.
You got into it.
Yeah, Amanda's been a fan for a long time, and I've started really finding some things I liked in it too. So this is,
Do you want me to hold it?
and I did, as is allowed per their policy, I made a copy for my own use.
Do you want me to hold it?
Sure. I was just going to show the pattern first. So this is the cover sweater. It's just a simple shell. It's got a little bit of simple lace down the front. I may add sleeves. We'll see. I was talking with somebody about that on the phone the other day.
So here we are. This is it.
It is
It
is knit in pieces. However, I, as Jen and I like to say, congenitally unable to do anything the way it is written. I decided to knit it in the round because, again...
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. It's good TV knitting. I'll fix this while Haley is talking about her first work in progress.
I pulled it off. I pulled the needle out. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. If things happen, it's not a big
Just
deal.
the commentary because I don't know if the camera caught it. Caught the act.
So have loved Rowan cotton cashmere since we got it. Jen made a soldotna in it, among other things, which one of her cotton soldotna is cotton cashmere.
The purple one?
The second one, the lighter one, the more pastel. No,
the other
that's
one?
Amanda's.
Oh, okay.
It's not in the store. So anyway, I have loved working with this, and the fun thing is, we had it in the newsletter last week, and several people, now everyone loves terracotta, so we had to order more terracotta, and we're finding out today if it's still available, because it comes from Italy.
From the multiple calls about the pattern from the newsletter.
So,
which is this one. Yep. Featured here as well.
So, loving this. I think this hopefully will be a finished object next time. I am also, I'm making the scoop a little bit deeper. I don't know if you remember from the picture, but it's got a fairly high neck. I don't, again, like Jen, I don't like things too close to my neck. It makes me feel like I'm choking. I just don't like the feeling. I like more openness.
The airy.
I like the airiness. And so I'm going to have to finagle that a little bit, but I'll figure it out. I'll measure as I go, and I'm going to work it in the round till I get to where you start casting off for the sleeves. And then it's got to be worked flat, which is fine.
That's how we did the white Franca sweater.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. That's a really good technique. You can do that with anything that's knit in pieces if you prefer knitting in the round.
You just do all of them at once until you have to...
Well, the other thing I did is this had... it had stitches to seam, basically. So I removed the seam stitches because they basically just roll to the inside.
Yeah.
And this pattern also had a little funny extra stitch in the beginning that you then removed. It was to make the ribbing right, but because I was working, whatever. Anyway, did my calculations. All my notes are on Ravelry. And
calculations, if I had my glasses. Calculations.
And so I'm loving this. It's a lot of fun, and maybe I'll be wearing it next time. Fingers crossed. We'll see. All right.
It would be fun.
What is your first work in progress, Haley?
So this is if you listened closely to the podcast last time, I was like, oh, I had another project, and then we were all like, yeah, we'll go get it, and then we didn't get it because classic us. So here it is this time.
Just slightly distracted, as always.
Again,
right? Squirrel.
We say something, and then for me at least, I say something, and if it was something that I was trying to remember for later, once I say it, it is no longer in my brain. So there's the struggle between.
This is why I use a pen and a paper.
The dichotomy between me not wanting to forget it and not saying it, and me forgetting it once I've said it. So the middle ground is where I am.
I was not aware of that previously.
Yes.
All right. Interesting.
But I like to write things down too. It's
you
just
do.
like
Yeah, you're good
in the
at
middle
them.
of filming the podcast. It's not exactly the option. So
True.
then, therefore, I said it and I forgot it. So anyway.
Before you show, can I just, I got it back on the needles. Let me just hold it up so you can see the lace pattern in the middle.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's fine. See, I got it done already. No problem. So it's really pretty. It's done over, it's really 16 stitches that you're working over because you've got your little purl ditches on the side to set off the center panel. But, you know, it's knit 2 together, yarn over, slip, knit on the other side to make them symmetrical. And that's it. And I can't tell you how nice this feels. I think I'm going to finish it quickly because I'm dying to wear it.
It'll be really nice for summer because it's soft, but like it's airy.
Soft. Yeah.
Again, the airy.
Yes. All right. So back to your pillow.
So with the theme of scraps and not wasting things, once I had finished my blanket. Oh, yes, I finished my blanket. It looks the same.
It does.
I just added some more rows.
And I didn't know you were completely considering your finish now. I
It's
think it's quite large.
It's like a 95% done whip. Like, if I feel like adding more, I will. But I finished...
Well, that was like your mermaid tail thing, right?
So I don't know if you saw the trend. I think this was like 2014, 2015, like very long time ago. And they... on like Instagram and things, people made like mermaid tail blankets and like shark tail blankets and things like that. And I was like, I could make one of those, but I made it with what's the
it was a lion brand.
What's the
homespun.
one? The homespun. The classic. Everyone knows it's that like
boucle sort of.
Yeah, it's that one.
And,
that's like
and people were always giving it to the knitting circle,
it's
and you would
soft.
always take it home.
So I would like be like, I know what to do with this. And it's just one of those yarns where like it's always there, you know, like you always have a skein of it somewhere. And so I was like, oh, this is perfect. I'll make my own mermaid tail. But the thing they don't tell you when it's 2014 and you're like, I could do this, is that the mermaid tail, so we call it the sack because it's not really, it looks like like a caterpillar.
You did have a tail on it at one point, didn't you?
Yeah,
did you make the tail? But then you frogged the tail almost immediately.
Because the foot part wasn't like, it was like more of like a circle, like it was more of like a parabola than a vertice. So it looks like caterpillar now, so we just call it the sack.
And also, you were much younger when you made it, and you've grown since then. So that's what I remember. Like,
I wouldn't necessarily do anything differently.
But as you were outgrowing it, you would like
I would
add
more to the top. But the key to the sack part of like the mermaid tail is that you start the bottom where your feet go. That's like circular, but then the back, it's more of like a blanket. You start working back and forth. You go
back and forth,
like that. So it's more of like a blanket over yourself, and you can like take it off if you need. Anyway, that's a long backstory.
Yeah, and that may or may not make it into the podcast.
I don't even know what the connection.
You can edit it out, Amanda, if you want. Okay, it was about scraps.
Anyway, the scraps. So. Yes, I finished my scrap blanket, which since we are in a different location, we didn't bring that because it's less portable than something. So,
and like you said, it probably pretty much looks the same.
It looks the same. It's a blanket.
It's a giant granny stripe blanket. It's very cool.
So, this is, I had, along with the scraps from in one basket, I had a basket bag of chunky scraps. I'm like, big scraps,
super bulky scraps, really.
So that I could make one thing with the right amount of weight, because this weight, I tried it on the other blanket, it just wasn't
it's not going to lay flat
cohesive.
It's not going to
there
you
it was too chunky. So I love a chunky, but not
this is so pretty.
So
this is so nice.
I just put them all together, and this was what did we do with the linen stitch? That was
so much linen stitch. You did the two tops both with linen stitch.
So this was
when you were in
off
the linen
the
stitch
waves
phase
of that. So it's a linen stitch thing, square of like, I would say like 25 stitches. And this is all the chunky scraps I had. So this is like the front part. This will be the front part of a pillow. And once I collect enough chunky scraps, I'll make another one, a duplicate, and it will be an ugly on purpose pillow.
Cool.
Just like the, I feel like apartment aesthetic is very, like, ugly on purpose.
Student apartment?
Yeah, like, you know, college, like, Montreal.
I was gonna say, if you you also could just, like, maybe we have a skein that is, like, lonely or something, and you could just do the back in a solid
like
color.
the back could be a solid. I do.
That's what I was
like
thinking,
that.
because then you'd also finish it sooner.
Yeah, and it could be
All
like a real pillow.
We'll have to look and see if there are any orphans. I wouldn't be surprised.
I will show off the back for you.
I think the back looks just as cool as the front in a way with all the little tails.
Fine. I was just showing you because
fun.
I don't. Anytime I hear on the podcast people complaining about sewing and ends, I'm like, well, I do it as I go. So I don't have that problem. So, but mostly my trick is anytime, like no matter what I'm making, I always pull, like I force them to the back so they're all on one side. And these, in this case, since they are chunky, like
it's easier to make sure
I
they
will
stay on
like
the back.
do a stitch over the knot, but when they're small tails like this, I don't bother tucking them in. And I understand like,
well, if it's the inside of a pillow, you don't need to, really.
Yeah, I understand the structure of tucking them in because then
it makes it more secure.
Like, I get that, but in this case, I don't care. But, like, for longer things and, like, less, like, thinner yarn, I would maybe, like, I'll always pull it to the back while I'm working it, and usually I just crochet over it. Like, I really don't weave in ends. I was going to say, like, I'll weave it in after, but I really never do.
And actually, that is one thing on your scrap blanket. So. They're not visible at all. I don't ever see any ends
because I crochet over them. So and that's easier in crochet to do because
I need to learn
the structure like of a crochet stitch. Like knitting stitches, I guess it's harder to hide things in them. But for crochet stitches,
yes, because they have more open space, sort of. Like, so yeah.
You can...
There's like a little tunnel under there
actually,
that you can fill in.
That's how... I don't know if it's necessarily crochet mosaic, but there is a technique of holding multiple... Like, people make baskets and, like, backpacks out of this technique where it makes it a thick fabric, but you only have to do one... You can do, like, one thread at a time.
Yeah, you're crocheting over something, basically, over a cord or whatever.
Yeah, so it forms a cord, but it's kind of like friendship bracelets, like Chinese staircase. It's exactly like that, but crochet. So this is it's only a work in progress because it's one side of the pillow.
One side. And you know, it's so funny. We said we were going to be quick. We've done 2 of 6 things. And I think we've been talking for 15 minutes. Let's see if we can pick up the pace a little. So I will go next.
We have things to talk about.
We do. I know
This is our social activity for 2 weeks.
One of them. There is knit night, which we missed this week, but we will be back next week. So this is a store sample. This is called
a blanket.
Oh, here it is. The On the Porch blanket.
Oh.
And I'm testing
it's so cute.
Thank you. I love it. One of our customers did a blanket in this, and it was in our Ravelry favorites. I don't know whether a customer initially found it and told us about it, or somebody in the store found it, one of our staff, or somebody connected with the store found it and put it in the faves. But anyway, it was in our Ravelry faves, and a customer made it and needed help. She did a great job. She's a really pretty new knitter. I think this was like her second project, and it was for one of her first or second grandchild, I think. So it was really, she did a great job. When she got to the bind off, though, I don't think she'd ever really she didn't have much experience binding off, certainly. And the bind off was like half the width of the whole piece. So it kind of pulled in.
Slightly not what you want.
And she knit super, super tightly, and with the yarn that she was using, it kind of bound. It like felted itself across the top.
Yeah, that's...
So I had to cut the stitch. I cut it off and rebound it off for her.
One of the first skeins we sold here, that happened too.
I don't remember that.
That's a story we don't have time to tell.
No. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. That's another. We'll tell it another day sometime.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, in working with her blanket, helping her finish it, I was like, I love this pattern. This is a great baby blanket pattern because talk about TV knitting though. It's perfect. Yeah. It's like it truly is knits and pearls.
So squishy. Mm-hmm. It's so nice.
Knits and pearls, and the pattern recommends, and I did follow. You put a marker at the end of your garter section so that on your right side rows, you're knitting the whole way across. On your wrong side rows, most of your rows you are purling, but in order to get the ridge, then you're going to knit on those rows. So it just helps you stay on track. If you see the marker there, it alerts you, don't just go cruising through the row. Pay attention, you might need to be making a change here. So I'm really liking this yarn. We will see if this is something we wind up adding to our King Cole assortment. So yeah, and it's been fun to try it out, and another sample for the store. So that is my on the porch blanket.
Yes.
And if we decide to carry the yarn, we will tell you more about it then. But so far so good. I'm gonna do this, wash the swatch, all of that. But I like it. That we have been really pleased with their baby yarns overall, I would say. So I wouldn't be surprised if that is an addition in the not too distant future. So that is my second whip. What is your second
foreshadowing.
whip, Haley?
So here we are. If you attended Knit Night 2 nights ago?
2 weeks ago?
2 knit nights ago. During the time where we were outside on the porch and there was lightning.
Oh yeah, that was exciting.
So, we can have Amanda slide in a picture of this because this doesn't look like anything right now. But this is going to be a tank top, and these are like the 2 front pieces, and like basically this is kind of the construction of a lot of bralettes and things like that, where you make in crochet, and you make a triangle, but usually in like if you're making like a bikini cup or something, it would be about here. But the construction of this top is really interesting because this is just going to be the whole
it's the whole length of the front
of the top. So it goes like this, and the picture will make this clearer, and then you do a little connecting
and we have to
piece.
find the pattern name and everything.
The pattern name will be right here.
Okay.
And so then so the picture will see, you'll see through the picture how the construction is, but it's, I don't know, it seems really simple. I did one of these in a knit night, I did the other later that night watching a movie, so goes pretty quickly.
Maybe you'll have this finished by the next podcast.
C'est possible.
That would be nice. All right, great.
So
very fun top.
That's a clothing whip at the moment. And if you were a staunch fan, you can tell that this is the yarn from my diamond tee tank top thing that I took out, which I want to do in like hand knit cotton or something like that, because I don't think
it needs to be more drapey. Yeah, it needs that top
would be better for
just the design is going to work much better with
tank top. But it's working really. It's Ancient Arts is working really well for this. I'm a fan. So,
and that is one of the last skeins of Nishwain and Edgemont, right? I think, was that in your stash or my stash?
This was from the Kickstarter of mine.
Yeah, right, yeah. So
not my Kickstarter, but the one I got when we did the Kickstarter,
right?
Which is almost 4 years ago.
3 years. 3 years. We did it right before we opened. It was part of our opening.
Basically 3 years.
3 years ago. Yeah.
2017 summer.
Yep.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. All right.
Like I said in the beginning, I can't count.
So, my next whip is something for the store, and it's not a knitting or crochet thing, but it definitely has to do with knitting or crochet.
And it has yarn
it's crafty and it's fun. And
but you have to hold it. You have to hold this side.
Okay.
Or
it's good idea.
I don't know if it's gonna be backwards.
I don't think so.
Hopefully it's not backwards.
So these are things we got from Katrinkles a while back, and we were just making some little signs for the store, and it's one of those things, we just never got around to it, and looking for sort of a mindless project recently, I was like, oh yeah, those things. So I just outlined the little squares with our diamond superwash.
The pennants, not the squares.
Sorry.
This is a hexagon.
So anyway, it's been fun, and I did this in, watching an episode of something one night, and then was actually doing these again this afternoon. So we've got the next one says knitting, K-N-I-T-T, and then we've got crochet as well. Nice. So these will be put up at Yarnia. And it is interesting. I think what we may wind up doing, particularly with the knitting and crochet, I'm thinking at least in the beginning, is putting them in the window. Because so often people see our window displays and say, people who are not knitters and crocheters say, "Ooh, are you selling that shawl? Can I buy that shawl?" or whatever it is that's in the window.
We can teach you how to make it.
Exactly. But I think if we say that from the beginning, it will be a little more obvious for people what we're about. So
like this could be the thumbnail, maybe.
Of what?
The episode.
Oh.
It's the heart.
Maybe it could. You never know.
No pressure.
All right, so that is my last whip. I'm gonna finish this one tonight, do crochet, and on we go. All right,
and note the orange.
It's not quite Yarnia orange. Actually, I looked. Yarnia orange is a lot lighter than this, but it did not have enough contrast with the background. So I figured
that
orange with contrast was better than perfect match to our PMS color.
It is.
So there.
It is orange.
Yeah, it is orange. It's fine.
From a distance.
It's fine. It's fine.
So, in the past couple weeks, I have been thinking of ways that I can, besides thinking introspectively and talking with people and signing petitions and learning a lot and reposting things that are helpful for other people to read. But like, there's only so much money I have to donate, like in my bank account. But I was thinking of ways to raise more money for Black Lives Matter organizations and anti-racism organizations, and ways that I can
to raise awareness.
Yeah, but like, yeah, and
sorry, I won't put words in your mouth.
No, yeah. So, but ways that like to keep the movement going and not have like, sorry for this long pause.
Ways that you personally can continue to stay involved, or
I guess, but just ways to remember the victims in this movement, and to like how hashtags come and go, to say their names and know people's stories. So I did not finish a prototype. I've been thinking about the best way to do this. I think I think these will be called memorial.
What did we say? Name memorials?
Name memorials.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to have a finished prototype, but I've just been
trying different things.
I've been trying different things and thinking about.
And not been really happy completely with anything.
Best way to do it. So basically, right now I have this 4-row crocheted piece, and originally, I wanted to embroider the name of victims of police brutality and just names of innocent Black people who've been killed. And it didn't work out.
It is hard to embroider on crochet. It really is not.
You know, there's a lot of big holes. And
exactly.
So
exactly. It's not a totally smooth
fabric. It wasn't
fabric.
looking nice. So I was thinking, and I just started this like potential way of doing it where I'll embroider the name, and this is going to be Breonna Taylor's name, and I'll sew this piece of fabric, and I'm using scraps of fabric from my
one of your quilt projects or something.
Just from the like sewing fabric that we have in our house, and so environmentally friendly. And I'll sew this to the front, and then I'll embroider the BLM on the back.
That's a good idea, because that's much bigger letters, so you'll be able to cleanly embroider that.
Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking right now. And then in terms of fundraising, like how this will work is I will have these, and I don't know if I'll just do it through Instagram or something, but if you send proof of donation to an organization that is supporting Black Lives, the movement for Black Lives, or anti-racism work, then you get one. And the point is that you carry it with you. It can go on a keychain, because like you can just like hope like there's enough holes in crochet,
right?
Or it can be a bookmark, things like that, just to hold with you. And as you take as you hold the name of someone, you know their story and you tell their story to everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
So that is...
I love that. That's really nice.
That is the way I have thought of using my crochet.
Do you want to hear something interesting? I love that. I really do. When I was in elementary school, people had there were metal bracelets that were the names of prisoners of war and people that had been lost in the Vietnam War. Mm-hmm. And that was the same kind of thing. Like, you were meant to like learn about the person and keep them in mind and all that. So I think there is something really valuable about the whole like knowing the name and saying the name and knowing people's story and keeping them alive that way. I mean,
exactly.
They're not alive physically
like,
anymore.
The amount of names that I've had to, like, the posts and the amount of names that I've had to save, like that. No. It's sickening the amount of names that, like, the length of the
number of people
list.
that have suffered this way, that have died.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. So this is one small way that I've felt like I could keep the movement and keep people alive in our memory. So
very nice.
That is in progress and will be in progress.
Great. All right, so that is whips from us for this time. Thank you.
Okay, last thing for new in store is not in store yet, but will be before our next podcast. And that is the new issue of Pom Pom has arrived and will be on sale on June 24th. That's the first day we're allowed to sell it. We can take pre-orders if there's one you want to put your name on. Just give us a call or send us an email and we'll let you know if there's any still available for pre-order. But I got a few extra this time. I have 5, which is more than we usually get. Because they were having a little bit of a sale, a coronavirus sale on Pom Pom, and I thought what better to have a cheerful knitting new magazine for all of our customers, or for 5 of our customers. So if you would like one, definitely let us know. We're allowed to sell them on June 24th. And probably by the next podcast on June 26th-ish. Obviously I'm not always on time. They will probably be mostly gone. But did want to let you know that. Let's see. I think that's all. I hope you're all doing well. Stay safe. And hope you're enjoying your knitting. Bye.
Hi, it's Kathleen and Haley back one more time for New in Store. And we're going to do New in Store and news about store. So, and actually Amanda can decide whether or not she wants to put it in. But since we are going to be announcing something in our newsletter on Monday, why not give the people who watch the podcast a little preview?
That's major foreshadowing.
So, one of our, with all of the disruptions with COVID, we had not been receiving our mail in a timely way, and we get the Ba color of the month, Ba La Jolla color of the month, every month. And I normally do a post about it on Instagram when it comes in. We have some people who, every month they see the post, so like, Kathleen, hold to that one for me, or whatever. So we missed that for April, May, and June. But I'm going to be doing a post probably later today, the day we're taping this, Friday. And we'll see. There probably will be some left by the time this goes live, but you never know. So if you're interested, give us a holler. Either email us at hello@shopyarnia or call the store phone, which is 973-572-9276, or YARN if you want to think of it as yarn. And we'll do it in first come, first serve order. I'll be here in the store Saturday morning answering calls. This will not be live by then, but if you're interested, let us know. And we get 1 bag of each of these. So, we've got a few. We don't just have one of each. So this is the April color of the month, which is so pretty. It's unusual for April. I also did do a shawl kit using that, or I have one put together that has not been purchased yet, but it is a possibility. And this is the May color of the month. That one we have a lot of purple fans that come to our store. So I think that one is probably going to move quickly. And then the June I thought was so interesting. I really like the June. Yeah, it's got some really vibrant fluorescent colors in it. And and with a gray background, which is kind of unusual. A lot of times you see that with more of a white background, though actually it reminds me of Love Potion.
It has a bit of white. Oh, it does. Yeah, with the neon green.
There's a box color that I've used before called Love Potion, which is really, it's really similar to that. It just has a lot more of the accent colors in it, and it definitely has a big gray background. So those are the box colors of the month for April, May, and June. And if you're interested, let us know, and we can hold one for you. All right, so that is that. Then the big news, and this has been something that we've been working on in the background for so long.
If you're not sitting down, sit down.
So those who've been in our space know we have a really compact, tiny little store. It is packed. It's a jewel box. We've had
baby store.
We've had many people comment on how, we have a lot of yarn in a tiny space, but we've always thought it would be a great thing to have more space. And so literally from a year into our lease here, which has been a 3-year lease, I was scouting spaces. And finally, I found something that works for us. Yay! So we are going to be moving to a bigger location in July. So, scream one more time. So, still in Montclair. Great location. We're not going to say too much right now. We'll probably, as we're working on things, I bet we'll do a little like behind the scenes.
I want to do like a
we could do a special episode that's like a whole behind the scenes,
like a before and after vlog of like baby store, not baby store.
But it's a great location. It's a great space. We are going to have about 3 times as much space as we have now, which is amazing.
Which means classes at the same time as people just being in the store.
And maybe some private. Well, when we get to the point of being able to do in-person classes and all of that again,
yes.
Which we don't know when that's going to be.
But we do dream.
Yes,
and
that day will come. But the other thing is because number one, we're a tiny store and currently, and number two, we are really already in the process of getting ready to move. That's one of the reasons Haley's been helping us with inventory. We are going to continue just doing curbside until we are in the new space and open in the new space by the end of July. It just doesn't, we're really not set up for customers in the store right now. The curbside's been going well. There are different kind of ways we work with different people. So we're going to continue curbside. We're going to work on our new space. We're going to start moving things over there. We'll one way or another, we'll kind of give you a glimpse into how all that goes. But we could not be more excited. We're just so beyond excited. Same kind of parking situation as here, which means better than most of Montclair. For those of you who know parking in the Montclair area, it can be very challenging. Even recently, it's been challenging for people. Yep. But it's in a location where there are there's a parking lot close by. There's some street parking with meters, and there's also a very short walk to unmetered parking that's pretty ample. So we are
pretty ample. So
excited. We really are. So that is our big news. We are going to be moving and growing. So
moving and shaking.
So that is it. So I guess that is it from us for this episode, and we'll see. Maybe we'll have some glimpses by the next time. But hope you share our excitement. Let us know. And also, we are working on some giveaways. Some of our stuff that we've been working on got a little postponed because now we're obviously focusing on something that's happening in the next 6 weeks or so. But we're going to be doing some giveaways. So if you like our podcast, hopefully you're already liking and subscribing, but tell your friends about it too. And we want to. It's a great way to help us grow. We love sharing our stuff with you, and we love getting your comments. So that's where we are right now, and we're looking forward to seeing you all, whether virtually or through your comments, or eventually someday in our space. So.
Okay, that's it for me. So thank you so much for watching and listening. I hope everybody is, being safe, doing their part, and, hanging out and enjoying this great weather that we are having in New Jersey, at least, although it's a little hot. And in the meantime, make sure to like and subscribe. Follow us online, Shop Yarnia or Yarnia LLC on Facebook, Instagram, Ravelry. Did I forget something? Maybe. Oh, and our website, shopyarnia.com. So until next time, we'll see you later. Bye.
So that's it. So take care, be safe, happy knitting, all the good things.
Yes. Stay safe. Donate. Sign petitions.
Talk to people.
Yes.
Educate. Stand
Call
in the gap.
out racism when you see it.
Yes, exactly.
This is not the time to be shy.
I like that. Very good.
Coming from someone who is shy.
Really? It's so funny. I don't think of you as shy. But I know you can be in some situations. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But
You're a very extroverted, shy person.
white people got to do the work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This is true.
Yes.
I'm with you. All right.
So,
Take care, everyone.
go out into the world, make it a better place.
There you go. That's true. That's it. Thank you. Bye.
And we're back with our special guest star, Oliver. Hi. If I don't finish this, I'm going to need to delete
Just
it
keep talking.
and start again. So, I'm continuing with my works in progress. Thanks to Ollie, I now have a tiny child on my back. Anyway, who's still in his PJs, even though it's almost 11 a.m.